Greetings all! Today we will be examining the relatively uncommon water-type Pokemon Chewtle, the Snapping Pokémon, and its uncommon water-rock-type evolution Drednaw, the Bite Pokémon. Ornery to a fault, and more than capable of taking a bite out of anything that gets in their way, the members of the Chewtle family are vicious critters that can make good use of their jaws to make a statement in any conflict.
Chewtle have light blue bodies with 4 legs that have 1 white claw each, as well as a small tail and a dark blue shell with a light yellow ribbed belly area that helps to defend them against attack. Their cheeks have orange circular extensions used for making high-pitched warning noises, their eyes are black, and they have a single large orange horn on the top of their head, all framing the large mouth and the single massive tooth that adorns the front of it. The evolved form, Drednaw, have a thicker, scalier outer hide with orange spines on their tail and front limbs, a beige belly area, and 3 claws on each of their flat-bottomed feet. They also have a much larger, sturdier brown shell with several craggy ridges on its form and a crest of yellow-ridged material that covers the front and outer perimeter of the shell. They further have a large crest of yellow shell material adorning the top of their head in place of a horn, and their jaw has changed shape in evolution, having a massive, toothless, jagged profile, perfect for biting and slicing through other objects and creatures with little effort. It is further noted that these creatures have access to a Gigantamax form, and in this state, their armor grows sturdier as their back legs become thick enough to support their entire weight, allowing them to become bipedal as the head retracts somewhat to give them a bulkier and much more heavily armored appearance than normal. At a young age, the members of the Chewtle family, in particular Chewtle themselves, only possess a single tooth in their mouth, and while it is quite hard, it is not quite up to par as a deadly instrument, only really being good for defending themselves against potential predators. In time, this single tooth will merge with their jaw to form an impressive set of chompers, but in the meantime, they spend much of their young life teething, testing its strength and working to improve their overall jaw strength.
Well, it might be expected that Chewtle would gnaw on pretty much anything in sight in order to strengthen this single tooth and increase the firmness of its anchoring. This comes at a cost for those that get too close to them.
The sensation that is generated by their tooth when not teething comes in the form of a potent itch that irritates their mouth to a high degree, and this can make them a bit of a hazard because they respond to this itch by recklessly biting and nipping at whatever is in front of them, even if it might be nothing more than air. This can make it difficult to raise these creatures without potentially getting one's hands bitten, and they do get fairly early access to a bite attack, so they can leave quite a nasty mark on others if they're not attended to properly. As such, it is important that this issue be addressed early on when raising them, as they are still fairly receptive to training at a young age, and in turn, tend to be much easier to raise than their evolved form. Evolution only makes this issue even more apparent, as the jaws of Drednaw have finally developed fully and can utilize a powerful crunch attack that can cut through steel beams with ease and in turn most types of armor, so there are few that can be said to be truly resistant to their powerful attacks, especially as illustrated through the signature jaw lock attack, under which they will inflict notable damage and prevent their target from escaping the grasp of their jaw.
Not surprisingly, this enables these creatures to have strong jaw as a base ability, while their strong shells can also grant them access to shell armor as a base ability, and those who are able to swim faster in water can have swift swim as a hidden ability.
As far as the stats are concerned, in the case of Drednaw, it can be said that these critters might not have the best special attributes, but they can still move at a decent pace and not only take physical hits fairly well, but dish them out quite strongly, and can last a while with their noteworthy stamina. As such, these creatures have an above-average base defense stat for a fully evolved water-type Pokemon, and above-average base HP, attack, and speed stats for a fully evolved Pokemon of both of their types, making them fairly tricky opponents to try and tackle in close quarters. Despite the fact that they are still teething at their juvenile stage of development, Chewtle know that their mouths are the strongest part of their bodies, and they make good use of it to take down others when confronted. While they typically can rely on their shells to release some form of defense, if these small turtles really need to go in the offensive, they will do so by first charging forwards and striking opponents with a thick bony horn that protrudes from the top of their head, using it as a makeshift battering ram. They will continue to attack with it in moves like tackle and headbutt until they can connect with a strong blow that makes the opposition flinch. The moment this opportunity presents itself, they will then waste little time taking advantage of it, attacking immediately with their jaws and clamping down with no plan to ever let go, only biting down harder over time and thrashing their bodies around in order to inflict as much damage as possible. This can render them a serious irritant in the right cases and a pain to try and remove, as only extreme force is really able to force them to detach from their post. While this can make them an easy target for full body contact moves, it more often than not results in their attacker flailing wildly and running off, giving these creatures the tactical win and another day to grow and develop safely. When Chewtle managed to evolve into Drednaw, the outer shell hardens substantially and becomes so thick and dense that it effectively makes these creatures partial rock types and, in combination with increased physical strength, allows these creatures to learn the Rock Tomb attack immediately after evolving, as well as the Rock Polish, Razor Shell, and devastating Head Smash moves, in addition to the aforementioned Crunch attack they can have access to, making for a far more versatile fighter as a whole. Moreover, even if an opponent can keep at least a mild distance from the jaws, that is not a guarantee that they will be safe, as these monsters have an extendable neck hidden in their shell that can allow them to rocket the head over a foot away from the rest of their body to strike at nearby targets, slicing through otherwise clamping down on targets unfortunate enough to be within their striking zone.
The powerful attacks that these creatures get access to naturally can make them a dire threat to have to deal with, so strong armor is highly recommended when dealing with these creatures. And unfortunately, that goes for both opponents and allies alike.
While Drednaw do have a lot of power going for them, they are extremely ornery and difficult to raise as adults, as they will gladly bite at anything that gets in their personal space and feel no qualms about doing so even to their own trainers if they haven't been raised carefully and patiently. Not surprisingly, most that attempt to train these beasts give up on the process and simply release their Pokemon back into the wild. While the burden of training them can be understood to some degree from the position of stress and frustration, this has sadly left many of these reptiles abandoned and without a home to call their own, which leads into trouble for locals as it makes it more likely to see them among domesticated areas where they can get on people's property and become a serious nuisance to deal with. Efforts are being made to try and stem the mass release of formerly owned Drednaw in the Galar region, and as part of those efforts, it is recommended that if one does wish to train one of these creatures, that patience be paid to the extreme, or at the very least, have them raised from a Chewtle, if only to not contribute to this ongoing problem in their native land.
It is lastly noted that Drednaw is one of only a select number of Pokemon capable of possessing the Gigantamax factor, and can in turn take on a unique Gigantamax form when they are Dynamaxed.
In this state, Drednaw primarily used their now bipedal nature for the sake of offense, falling down and crushing opponents under their body before using their powerful jaws to finish them off. Moreover, their jaws are said to be so strong that, in legend and in the distant past, it is said that one ate and chewed up a mountain and then spit the rubble out in order to stop a great flood. While this might only be a temporary state for them, the immense power that flows through them while in this state allows Drednaw to utilize a unique G-Max move known as G-Max Stone Surge, which takes the standard Max Geyser attack and infuses it with Dynamax energy charged stones that levitate around the opposition after attack to employ a Stealth Rock field, allowing these monsters as a whole to use their Dynamax power to the fullest to deal entry hazard damage to anything that would dare to face them in combat.
Though a bit small in size when young, and not always the brightest of creatures, the members of the Chewtle family are still dangerous little beasts that can more than leave a mark on those that dare to disturb them. They might not always be the easiest of Pokemon to raise, but the sheer bite power they have at their disposal can still make them a worthwhile investment when it comes to close quarters brawls.
Just do yourself a favor and try not to put your hand too close to them. Not only is it in general a dumb thing to do, but when faced with their fully evolved adult form, you may quickly find out that these beasts have very little issue with biting the hands that feed them. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
Yeah, no.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.